Welcome back to the latest episode of Conference Chatter TV, where I pick every game in the Big 12 this college football season. A lot of interesting games took place in Week 11, and I'm here to reflect on the picks that I made earlier in the week. Thanks for joining me, guys, for another episode. My name's Eric Sorrentino. I'm the KUSports.com Big 12 blogger, and let's get right to those games that I picked in Week 11. I went 4-2, so that's not too bad, better than I've been picking in previous weeks. And my record on the season is 65-18, picking at a 78% clip. So I missed two of them. So what were those two in the Big 12 that I missed in Week 11? Let's get right to them. The first one that I slipped up on was Texas A&M 42 and Baylor 30. I had more faith in the Bears. I had faith that they would win at home, and they did not protect their home field. A&M with an impressive victory. And how about Cyrus Gray? Really stepping up with Christian Michael lost for the year. Gray rushed for 134 yards and 4 touchdowns. 3 of those were in the second half. And speaking of that second half, Gray was the only guy on either team to score after halftime. So he really just dominated that game for A&M. And credit the Aggies. They overcame a 16-point deficit to win the game. And that's something that, earlier Mike Sherman teams might not have done. So we've seen a spark from A&M lately that we have not seen certainly this whole season and probably in the last couple of years. A&M has won 4 straight games now, so they've really, really come on. And they have an outside chance, I would say, of winning the South. A lot would have to happen for that. Oklahoma State sits in front of them at 5-1. A&M is 4-2. So a lot of things would have to happen. There's 2 games left. Most likely, A&M would have to win both of them, and Oklahoma State would have to lose both of them. But weirder things probably have happened. It's been a crazy year in the Big 12 this season, so you never know. But A&M, 4 straight wins. They're looking like a really, really different team than they did earlier in the year, and a lot of that has to do with Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback who took over for Gerard Johnson. Johnson was expected to have a huge year. It just didn't pan out that way, but Tannehill's really, really stepped up and ignited the Aggies in a way that they have not been ignited all season. So a lot of credit to A&M for that game. The next one, I missed one more this week in picking Big 12 games. The other one I missed was Colorado 34, Iowa State 14. I took the Cyclones on the road thinking that, maybe this is, for Colorado, their first game without Dan Hawkins, kind of in a transitional phase, a big wild card, didn't know what to expect. But the Buffaloes came out under interim coach Brian Cabral and looked really, really good. Cabral winning his first game since taking over for Hawkins, who was fired last Tuesday at Colorado. And now Cabral, he's been on the coaching staff a long, long time, most recently as linebackers coach, and he's been on that staff since 1989. And Cabral, who could blame him? He wants to be a serious contender to be the next head coach at Colorado. Off to a really good start. He has 2 more games left this season, and Colorado has 4 wins. Now, to become bowl eligible, the Buffs have to win their last 2 games. They take on K-State at home next week and then travel to Nebraska to close out the season. And, you'd have to consider Cabral a long shot at this point to become the next head coach. He's probably not on the top of the list, but who knows, if he wins these last 2 games somehow, that's going to drastically change things. I mean, it's a long shot. It might not happen, especially considering that Colorado has a 16-game road losing streak to its name right now. So that final week at Nebraska is a really, really long shot. But who knows? If he wins that, he'd have to jump right to the top of that list with the rest of the front runners for that vacancy right now. So Cabral off to a very nice start. Colorado winning that game, protecting its home field. And that was the other one that I missed. The rest of them I predicted correctly, so let's take a look briefly at some of those that I predicted correct here. How about Oklahoma State 33, Texas 16? The Cowboys' unbelievable season continues. Oklahoma State snapping a 12-game losing streak against Texas, and the Cowboys are now 9-1 overall, 5-1 in the Big 12, first place in the South Division, controlling their own destiny. The Cowboys, remember, have never won the South Division in the history of the Big 12. So they are in position to do so now. And how about Justin Blackmon? 9 receptions, 145 yards, another touchdown. I feel like I say it every week, but this guy just continues to torch secondaries. He is unbelievable and one of the best players in the country. I would say the best wide receiver in all of college football. The numbers say it. I mean, I've watched the guy, week in and week out just abuse secondaries, and the guy's unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying he should be the Heisman frontrunner by any means, but this guy should deserve consideration. There's no question he should be on the ballot, and he's not getting love nationally that he should. I mean, I was watching, forgot what it was. I think it was one of those ESPN College Game Day shows yesterday, and I think they went over the top 3 or 4 or 5 guys that should be on the Heisman ballot, and Blackmon's name wasn't even on there. And I don't think enough people have seen this guy play. He's only a sophomore, but leads the country with 1,430 receiving yards, and that's by a long shot. There's not anybody that's close to 1,430. And he's got 16 touchdowns. That leads the country, too. And, again, I'm not saying he's a front runner. Auburn's Cam Newton, obviously, having a huge year, along with Oregon's LaMichael James, that running back. Those two, certainly the front runners, not taking anything away from them. But what is wrong with Justin Blackmon at number 3? This guy has been unbelievable. Oklahoma State's been unbelievable. They're obviously the surprise in the Big 12. I would say the surprise in the country this year. I mean, Phil Steele, a very well-respected predictor, had Oklahoma State last in the Big 12 this year. And I did too. I got to be honest, when I filled out my ballot, I had Oklahoma State 6th in the Big 12. And so Blackmon's come out of nowhere. He looks like Des Bryant version 2.0 out there. He looks unbelievable. Mike Gundy deserves serious consideration for National Coach of the Year. There's no question about it, especially if Oklahoma State wins the South. And, I'd like to see Blackmon in a little bit more Heisman conversations. Again, I know he's not the front runner, but he should be on that ballot. Let's get to some others here. Missouri 38, K-State 28. Thought the Tigers would fare well at home, and they did. And Blaine Gabbert, I kind of didn't really call him out, but, I said with making this pick that I'm relying on him to have a much better game, and he absolutely responded. Getting back on track after having a bad previous 2 weeks. Gabbert was 17 of 25, 206 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and then he had a separate 91 yards rushing and another touchdown. So 3 total scores for Gabbert, and when he plays well, Missouri is a very, very tough team to beat. So Missouri holding off K-State. 2 others, Oklahoma 45, Texas Tech 7. Not a surprise at all. Oklahoma at home, pretty much unbeatable. And then Nebraska 20 and Kansas 3. Probably the most boring game of the week, but what do you know? I mean, Nebraska, the defense played unbelievable, limiting KU to, I believe it was 87 total yards. That's pretty much unheard of. And, KU didn't really have many chances to score. Nebraska's offense not looking particularly good, but they did what they had to do and won and protected their home field. So a 4-2 week, not too terrible. We'll see about next week. These games are getting tough, man. This year is a difficult one in the Big 12 with a lot of wild things going on a weekly basis. So I will be back next week to make to make another round of picks in Week 12. So stay tuned for that. Until then, take care, guys. I appreciate you checking it out. The latest episode of Conference Chatter TV. My name's Eric Sorrentino. I am out, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.